The hammerhead chopper. Do you know? It looks like what's that? It looks like the one from um. It looks like the chopper from Avatar, like the one up two wings, like the blue Avatar people. Did you see that helicopter before?
I don't know if I'm even going to play the next season.
It seems pretty interesting. It has a lot of bugs. It has airplanes. It has a big minigun. It has like a nuke now. It has like everything.
Briefly hovering midair while you switch seats to lay down.
What?
We're going to play a little game on Dead by Daylight. On suppressing fire on the other side. And now I don't mean also gets green gas mileage. Then we have some new boons. It says boons from the cocoon. Leave a trail of antennae and thoraxes in your wake with a new set of boons. Some of these boons can be found in OXR chests and hive sacks around the island, while others can be purchased from the OXR armory found in drop pods or rewarded for completing mid-match objectives. Such as clearing the swarm from a POI. What you're going to do is that you're going to. So first we have agile aiming boom. It says while aiming down sights, your recoil and spread will be reduced, and you'll maintain more of your movement speed. Hey, that's pretty cool. And we've got extended magazine boom, increases the clip size for all your weapons. We've got this storm forecast boom. The next storm circle is always revealed to you. And the super soldier rank exclusively from OXR drop pods. So for Super Soldier Boom, rank B, it says reduces energy consumption when sprinting. For rank A, you get the previous ability plus increase reload speed. For rank S, you get both B and A abilities plus reduce weapon recoil and spread. And if you're S plus, you get all the abilities plus increases sprint speed and give you unlimited energy. Holy cow, that boom sounds crazy. And then we got some new medallions. It says entomology meets medallions. Clear the swarm from certain POI.
What?
So you see these killers with like these little circles and the numbers by them.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna pick the ones that have the one next to them. So like the circle and the one, like on the doctor, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna pick any of the ones that have a one on them, and whatever one you pick, I have to play them with a more accurate build, which I'm gonna find from a YouTube.
Don't they all have one?
shield. So you get Siphon and you get shield.
So this is the one
at all times. You don't buy the Battle Pass. It says right here, non-Battle Pass holders who reach level
Wait,
100.
apparently if you just play Fortnite, you can get the Spartan for free.
Hello?
Yeah, the Halo Spartan for free apparently. If you
Let
just
me
log
continue
in.
reading the facts. So damage
UNSC
is
Spartan
just
outfit for
fast as
free
the normal
starting August 26th.
and then I
So a
charge.
free character model for this one, the Onyx Winter. And last but not least, everyone was looking forward to this. This is the Green Ranger, Tommy Oliver himself. He has another style, which I'll show you in just a second. It looks amazing. So that's the full battle pass, and then we've got the secret skin right here. It's the Megazord, the Dino Megazord, I should say. So it says it's unlockable by completing quests, but I don't want to get my hopes up because we used to be able to complete quests to get these, but then they turned it into account levels. So it could just mean that, but they literally say complete quests starting September 16th in order to unlock this. So hopefully there's actual quests and not just earn account levels. We'll see. And then the Power Rangers bundle is coming to the item shop. I believe this is going to later in August. It doesn't actually give a date, but there's also going to be the Go-Go Power Rangers Redux Jam Track, which is the theme song everyone should be familiar with if you've ever watched Power Rangers. Pretty cool. So you can get the red, the pink, the blue, the yellow, the black, and then the green one obviously is in the Battle Pass. Now lastly, here's the image I was talking about that shows the alternative styles for a lot of the skins.
This is the new unknown skin.
So in the middle, Tommy Oliver, we had the green style. Now we've got the phenomenal white and gold style, aka the White Ranger. Amazing. That looks perfect. So to the left of the White Ranger was the You My skin. Remember, she was all white and pink, and now she's this red color scheme. Pretty cool. To the left of her is the UNSC Spartan. So she's still blue, but we did see a red one in one of the teasers, so I'm assuming she has another style. Battle Gamer May is to the left. She still looks the same, so that doesn't show another style there. However, to the right of Tommy Oliver, we've got Lieutenant Rip Slade, and that is his helmet down one. Agent Patch is to the right. I don't notice anything different there. He still has the eye patch, still has that denim jacket on, so that's not his other style. Onyx Sprinter on the right still looks the same as well, so nothing new there. So some different styles. Then you've got the Dino Megazord skin working in the background. It looks amazing. But the highlight here is definitely the White Ranger. Man, does he look talk about a lot to take in. This season sounds fantastic. I can't wait for this. I love the buzz theme. I love Major Disability. I love tons of videos on her. Check some of those out. I've got an update video coming on her soon.
Something that definitely got toned down in the later seasons, but it definitely still worth it. And it helps the pool of wine and water theme park.
3D printers can produce quite a lot of waste, especially if you're multicolor printing. Particularly, the very popular Nebula printers purge out a ton of little filament groups every time you switch from one color to another. And this adds up. I recently printed a multicolor version of Zelda's Majora's Mask, and this print not only took 6 more days, but it also purged 1.2 kilograms of material for a 500-gram print, which is kind of insane.
What?
The good thing is that I have a filament extruder, so we can recycle the pulp into new usable filament. Let's find out more. Guten Tag, everybody. I'm Stefan, and welcome to CNC Kitchen. Sponsored by Box, and you have to actually small to go this beautiful with such long and big prints. You need a reliable and also affordable filament. And this is what Box and PLA provides. Their Pro PLA, which comes in 12 different colors, sells for just $16.99 a spool and ships free. You can purchase 3 spools or more with multiple prints available for larger prints. Boxen recently also expanded into selling high-quality printer accessories with their enclosure kit for the Bamboo P1P. And what I like most, the Boxen Bento Box designed by the Frame. The Bento Box is
Hi, Chris. So since you picked a demo tool again, I have to play this fucker.
As well as the
I see a 3 on the corner of the icon.
install it in your machine and reduce the emissions during printing.
Which means I have to play a lot of games with fucker. I have to play a lot of
air filter for your 3D printer.
No, that's
So I'm gonna go through hell and back.
yeah. Well, you should have made the demonstration a 2. You should have made the demonstration a 2 instead of a 1.
I have to throw away 3D prints or just waste filament. When printing regular part parts, you can always consider if this print is something that you really need or if it will land in the trash very soon. Yet sometimes you don't really have an option. The most popular multicolor printers at the moment are Bamboo Labs XP and A series printers with their AMS unit. They use a so-called multiplexing system where you have one tool head into which you can feed multiple, in Bamboo Labs case, up to 16 different filaments for multicolor or even multi-material printing. The system is simple, reasonably cheap, and honestly one of the most reliable options on the market. But having a single nozzle through which you feed all of the different colors also comes with a problem. When switching between colors, you need to purge out a considerable amount of plastic before you get rid of the previous color. The Bamboo Lab printers famously generate all of these purging groups that the printer spits out of its bag, and which will considerably pile up after a while. Instead of throwing them in the trash, I wanted to use some of my collected filament poop and make filament from it. I'm a bit lucky in this regard because 3DO provided one of their filament extruders and shredders a while back, which I can use for this task. This equipment might not be in the price range for home users, but it's great to do a proof of concept. And if you're interested in seeing if this is also possible with more affordable equipment, make sure to be subscribed because I bought the German-made Ultimate 3D DIY filament extruder that I'll be assembling and testing very soon. The filament poops themselves are too big to directly fit into the filament extruder, so I had to shred them first. This machine shears the plastic into small pieces and then collect in a tray at the bottom. Once I had a bunch of material chopped up, I quickly put it through a sieve in order to make sure that no big pieces still are in the ground of material. As I already said in the beginning, this is not my first filament recycling project, but last time I had to learn that cleanliness is of utmost importance. Anything that's in the shredded material will later land in our filament. The multicolor print poop right here already used to be PLA filament, which has a rather low melting point. So when collecting the material, I really had to make sure I do not have any purged material from polycarbonate prints in my pile, because these might render my material useless in the end. Another problem is foreign debris. Last time I had several clogged nozzles because metal particles somehow got into my recycled filament. To get at least magnetic particles out, I tossed a strong neodymium magnet into the box with all of the shredded material and moved everything around for a while, which should make steel particles adhere to the magnet, which I can later remove and then clean. But now to extrusion. I have the 3DO Composer at my disposal, which is a very compact lab filament extruder. It's by far not cheap and certainly not the best option if you want to make filament at a large scale, but it gives me the option to play around with material extrusion without the need for a whole extrusion line. So I turned it on and waited until it heated up. Then I started flushing out all of the old material that still was in the extruder barrel. At some point, I added the transparent hopper and inserted this vibration spider. So normal plastic pellets are round and flow without a problem in the hopper by themselves. Our regrinds, on the other hand, are very sharp and tend to be cold, consequently blocking the flow to the extruder screw. The vibrations help the particles flow and should result in a better extrusion result. The extruder itself is basically a big auger in a heated barrel that will slowly move the material from the feed zone all the way to the nozzle. On its way, it slowly melts, the air bubbles are pressed out, and it also gets thoroughly mixed. So, unfortunately, we probably can't expect a rainbow-colored filament coming out of the extruder, but rather a mix of all colors that we shredded. And what do we get if we mix all of these colors together? Yes, exactly, brown, which is kind of on theme if we remember that this used to be printer poop. I did another the new material extruded out, so everything had a bit of time to settle and then started the smoothing process. So working with threaded prints and print waste is always challenging, and I once again noticed that when just looking at how the diameter of the extruded filament varied. Such a professional extruder has a closed-loop control system for filament diameter. The molten material comes out through a nozzle that's fairly larger than the 1.75 mm intended filament diameter. The right dimension is achieved by stretching the soft string, and the more you stretch it, the thinner it gets. So a diameter sensor measures the thickness, and an adjustable puller wheel stretches the filament. In theory, this should make sure that we stay within like around plus minus 0.05 millimeters of the filament diameter we want. Unfortunately, if the flow through the extruder is uneven, the system can't compensate quickly enough and we get either a too thin or a too thick filament diameter. And this is what unfortunately happened on my first batch, and we can't only see that on the graph, but also when we take a look at the filament itself after I put it on the machine. Printing it went okay for a bit, until a thick section jammed the filament path and ruined the print. Even though the print itself looked okay until this point, I was clearly able to see sections of thicker and thinner filament on the part. Okay, so that's unsatisfying, but I had an idea to fix that. Years ago, I built myself a filament pelletizer that was still sitting in my basement. This machine chops down the filament into small pellets by feeding it through a drill-powered auger. I didn't have the old electronics anymore to power the stepper motor, so I simply connected it to my old NO3 that's running a dual board. It has the Newton 2 places that are standard. The idea here was that the more regular shapes of the chopped filament could be more consistently fed extrude, resulting in a better filament. It's an additional step, but also used endlessly, and if it improves quality, it might be worthwhile. So I started the extruder for a second time, and after purging out the remains of the last extrusion, I started feeding our DIY filament pellets. At first the result looked significantly more consistent. There weren't a lot of outliers. The roller filament looked okay and still had the brown color from before. Also, the initial print results looked significantly better with less bending. Unfortunately, when I later came back to the print, I again overran. I got filament jammed in the extruder. Upon further inspection, by just running the filament through a bit of bound tube, I realized that I once again had blobs on the filament, which were way larger in diameter than the 1.75 millimeters that the material should have. Yet I couldn't give up. I wanted to succeed in converting multicolor printing poop into usable filament. At that point, I remembered that I had similar problems during extrusion in the past when the material just wasn't dry enough. Most of the purging poops I used for my first batch were from my PLA waste box that were able to absorb moisture for months. So for the second batch, I mostly used waste from very recent prints. To dry the material even further, I played around with vacuum dry, where the vacuum
What? 1,000 years later. What did you say, Landon? Martin Luther King.